Hi everyone, I hope you are doing great. So I welcome you all to my channel. I am Pranay Nair. I'm a medical student as well as I'm a biology teacher. So I'm making a series of one-shot lectures for class 8 ICSE where I will be teaching you all your biology contents. So today we are going to start with your first chapter, that is transportation in plants. So it is a very easy chapter in which we are going to first talk about the basic structure of the plant, what is root, what is shoot, and then we are going to talk about how the water and food molecules are transported from one part to another part, which all tissues are involved for their transportation, how these tissues are formed, which types of cells are there. So it is going to be a very easy chapter. What all nutrients are required for the growth of the plant. So this is what we are going to study from this chapter. So let's talk about the basic structure of a typical plant. So there are two systems. So there is going to be a root system and there is going to be a shoot system. So the root system is going to contain what? Your roots, obviously. Now, what are the functions of root? So there are two functions. The first one would be it anchors the entire plant. Means what? It is going to hold the entire stem, entire leaf, and everything which is above the soil. Second function is this is the place from where the water is going to get inside. That is, the water absorption occurs from your root system. After that, above your soil, we have shoot. So inside your shoot, we have stem, we have leaf, we have flowers, etc. The most important function which is related to this chapter, that is photosynthesis. Inside your leaf, we have chlorophyll, which is nothing but a pigment. So what is happening inside chlorophyll? What is photosynthesis? That is nothing but the plant is going to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and it is going to absorb water from the soil. And after both of this absorption, it is going to use these two substances and it is going to make food. That is nothing but in the form of glucose as well as oxygen. So this production of glucose, it occurs inside your leaf. That is nothing but in your shoot system. Now after their production, they will be stored inside either in the stem or it could be also stored inside your root. Understood this much? So this was the basic structure of a plant. And we have also understood what is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is nothing but a process in which we are going to use carbon dioxide as well as water to make glucose, which is nothing but food. So now we are going to understand what is transportation. This is going to be there for 2 to 3 marks. So they are going to ask you define transportation. So what is transportation? It is nothing but it is a process in which substances are either absorbed or synthesized in one part of the plant, then they are moved from that part to another part of the plant. For example, we all know the roots are going to absorb water. So after the absorption of water, I'm going to send these water molecules towards the shoot system. Now the reason is for the photosynthesis, for the production of food, I need water. So this water which was absorbed by the root, it is moved towards some other parts for some other function. Understood this one? Second thing, like we have talked that inside your leaf there are chlorophylls which are going to help in the production of food. Now once your food is produced, it is stored inside your stem or it is stored inside your root. So see, the something is synthesized over here. Something is synthesized, or we can say something is produced over here. It is moved from this location and it is stored or it is transported to some other part. So that is transportation. I hope this definition was pretty much easy for you guys. For this transportation of food and water, we have specific system. Like in our human body, we have for the food transportation or for the movement of food, we have mouth, we have esophagus, we have stomach, large intestine, small intestine, anus, etc. And for the transportation of gases, we have lungs, we have alveoli, we have trachea, nose, etc. So like that, inside plant, for the transportation of food and water, we have two tissues which are known as the conducting tissues or the conducting system. These are xylem and phloem. The xylem, it is going to carry or it is going to transport your water. And the phloem system, it is going to transport food from one part to another part. So together they are known as vascular bundle. Now we are going to study about the plant tissue. But before that, what is a tissue? Tissue is nothing but it is made up of group of cells. Many cells together they are going to form what? A tissue. Now inside your plant, there are two types of tissues. So there is going to be a meristematic tissue and then there is going to be permanent tissue. So what are meristematic tissue? You're going to see meristematic tissue on a growing plant. So these are those cells which are actively dividing and they help in the growth of the plant. So according to their location, there are three types. So there is apical meristem, intercalary, and lateral. So you're going to see the apical meristem, that is the growing cells on the apical region, on the top of the stem. So these are going to help in the growth of the plant in this direction, that is the longitudinal direction. After that, we have lateral meristem, which are seen on the lateral side of the plant, that is on the sidewards. So these are going to help in the growth of the width of the plant. So these are your meristematic tissue. So these are just actively dividing cells. They are not doing any sort of permanent functions. Once they have done their division, they are going to convert into permanent tissue. Means what? The permanent tissues are those tissues which are going to show some sort of functions. For example, some tissue will decide to do what the transportation of food. Some tissues might decide to transport the water. Some tissues might be there to provide a rigidity. Some tissues might be storing something. So according to that, the permanent tissues are classified into two types: simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Now, what is simple and what is complex? See, we know tissue is nothing but a group of cells. Simple permanent tissue means what? In this, the tissue is made up of same types of cells. For example, we can see there are three types of tissue which are known as simple permanent tissue. So they are parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. For example, if this is parenchyma tissue, so then it is made up of parenchyma cells only. If this is a sclerenchyma tissue, then it is made up of sclerenchyma cells only. You're never going to see any other different type of cell. So that is nothing but your simple permanent tissue. Now, complex permanent tissue, this is nothing but a tissue which is made up of different types of cells. For example, I have a tissue. It contains different types of cells. So this type of tissue is known as complex permanent tissue. Now, there are two types of complex permanent tissue. They are your xylem and phloem. Now, we know that very well. The xylem is going to transport water and the phloem is going to transport the food. So this xylem, it is made up of different types of cells. For example, they are tracheids, vessels, parenchyma, and xylem fibers. These are the four types of cells which are together going to form your xylem. Like your phloem, it is also made up of four different types of cells. So there is sieve tubes, there is companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. Together, they are going to make your phloem tissue. So what is complex permanent tissue? These are tissues which are made up of different types of cells. And what is simple permanent tissue? These are tissues which are made up of same type of cells. Now we should know the basic function of these tissues. So let's start with the simple permanent tissue. So the first one is parenchyma. Their only function is to store. They will be storing nutrients, water, food, etc. This is all you need to remember from parenchyma. So parenchyma tissue is made up of parenchyma cells. Their primary function is for storage. They are used for storage of food, water, nutrients, etc. The second one is collenchyma. Now, you might have observed that whenever you try to pull a plant, they don't easily break. They don't easily snap. Now, due to their elasticity. Now, this elasticity is provided by the collenchyma cells or the collenchyma tissue. So, the elasticity is due to this tissue. And the third one is your sclerenchyma. So, these are dead cells at maturity. And we all know every plant cell, they have cell wall. So, the outermost is your cell wall. And beneath, we have cell membrane, which is also known as plasma membrane. So, in sclerenchyma, this cell wall is very rigid due to lignin, which is a compound which is present in the cell wall. So, this is going to make the cells very hard, very rigid. So, due to which the entire plant is going to be very hard as well as stiff. So, we can say that they provide protection, or we can say they provide mechanical support. So these are your three simple permanent tissue. Parenchyma, which is related to your storage. Collenchyma provides elasticity. Sclerenchyma, rigidity or mechanical support. Now, the second type of tissue, that is your complex permanent tissue. These are those tissues which are made up of different types of cells and they are going to perform some sort of function. So we have two types. There is xylem and the phloem. So the first point that you're going to write related to xylem, that is going to be xylem is a complex permanent tissue which is made up of different type of cells. They are xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. Second point that you're going to write, that is xylem is responsible for the transportation of water as well as minerals. See, the water, it is getting absorbed from the roots. The minerals are also present inside the soil. So when the water is getting absorbed from the soil, the minerals are also getting absorbed with the help of water. So xylem, it is going to carry your water as well as minerals or your nutrients. Now we are going to talk about each and every single cells which are going to form your xylem tissue. So the first one is xylem tracheids. So the first point that we are going to understand related to the xylem tracheids, that is going to be the shape of the cell. So these are elongated cells. That is going to be the first point. So this structure is nothing but elongated structure. Second thing, these cells are dead at maturity. So these are not living cells, these are dead cells at maturity. After that, see the xylem tracheids, and there is one more cell, that is your xylem vessels. These are the main cells which are going to conduct water. So they are involved in the conduction of water mainly. After that, if you look closely, one cell is in contact with the another cell, and between these cells, there is some openings. So there is this opening, there is one more opening, there is one more opening. So these openings are nothing but pores, which are known as pores. So from these pores, you can see the water will flow from one cell to another cell. So if the water is over here, then it is going to go from this cell to another cell via these pores. And the last thing you are going to see, that is going to be these cell walls, they have different thickening at different locations. So this is nothing but your xylem tracheids. So these are mainly involved in the transportation of water. After that, your second type of cell which is going to make the xylem, they are going to be your xylem vessels. If you look closely from the diagram only, you can understand these are cylindrical cells. These are very short and cylindrical cells, as well as these are also dead cells. So your xylem tracheid as well as xylem vessels, both of these cells are dead at maturity. And they were elongated, but these are tube-like structures. These are cylindrical in structure, and these are placed one above another cell. And even in these cells also, there are pits or there are pores through which the water is going to go up, or we can say the water is going to get transported from one cell to another cell via these pores. So they are mainly involved in the transportation of water. And the same point, that is the wall have thickenings of different types at different locations. So this was nothing but xylem vessels. So your xylem tracheids and xylem vessels, these are the two cells which are mainly involved in the transportation of water. And you have to talk about their shape. So they were elongated cells, and these are cylindrical or tube-like structures. And both of these cells are dead cells. The third type of cell which is going to make your tissue, that is your xylem tissue, that is your parenchyma. We all know what is parenchyma. So parenchyma is nothing but a tissue or a group of cells which is going to do what? Storage. So these are living cells. These are the only living cells in your xylem tissue. And what are they going to do? The main function is they're going to store food. As you can see, there is nucleus, there is cytoplasm. So it is a living cell. So that is your xylem parenchyma. And the last one is xylem fibers. See, your sclerenchyma is also known as fibers. Now we know sclerenchyma are those cells which are going to provide rigidity or mechanical support, and these are dead cells. So that is exactly what we have to write over here. Xylem fibers, these are dead cells. The main function is they provide mechanical support. And the shape, if you look closely, there are also elongated cells with the tapering end on the both sides. Now what do you mean by tapering end? Means what? They get narrower at the ends. So this is tapering end. These are tapering end. At the both sides, they are tapering. So these are long, narrow, tapering end cells. So these are your xylem fibers, which are nothing but your sclerenchyma. So I hope you have understood the xylem tissue. So xylem tissue, which is made up of 4 types of cells, that is your xylem tracheids, xylem vessels, your parenchyma, and then your fibers. In this, mainly your tracheids and your vessels are going to conduct the water molecules. Now we are going to talk about the phloem. So the first point related to the phloem would be, so these are the tissue which is responsible for the transportation of food. Second thing, it is a complex permanent tissue, meaning what? It is made up of different types of cells. So you're going to write that cells names. So there is going to be your sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fibers. So these are the 4 cells. Together they are going to form your phloem. Now you are very much familiar with these words, that is phloem fibers as well as phloem parenchyma. So the primary function of the phloem parenchyma would be storage of food, and the function of the phloem fibers would be mechanical support. So we are very much familiar with these 2 cells. Now we are going to talk about the sieve tubes. So it is very important that you should remember, it is going to be there in your examination. So first of all, their structure. If you look closely, these are roughly cylindrical or tube-like structures, as well as the cells are arranged longitudinally or vertically, one above another. So sieve tubes, these are cylindrical in shapes and they are arranged one above another. And you can see their walls, they are perforated. Perforated means what? They have some openings. These are openings, these are known as pores. Through these pores only, the food from one cell, it is moved to from one cell to another cell. So their cell wall or the cell membrane, they are perforated by pores. And through these pores only, the food molecules are transported from one cell to another cell. So these are the basic things that you need to remember. After that, if you look closely, your sieve tubes, they do not have nucleus or any kind of cell organelles. So they lack nucleus as well as cell organelles. Now, the reason why I have kept this empty from inside, because I don't want a nucleus or any other structure to be an obstruction for the transportation of food. So purposefully, what I've done, I've kept my entire phloem, this cell, that is your sieve tube, empty. But if this cell does not have nucleus, so it is considered as dead cell. If a cell, it does not have nucleus or cytoplasm or anything, it is considered as dead. But these cells are alive. Now, the reason why they are alive, because of these cells, that is your companion cell. As its name suggests, companion cells means what? These are kind of like a companion. So, if you look closely, these are elongated cells. They are present adjacent to your sieve tubes. Now, they have nucleus. Now, your companion cell's nucleus, it is going to control, it is going to keep your sieve tube alive. So that is your companion cell. These are associated with your sieve tube. They are elongated cells, which are, these are nothing but your parenchyma cell only. Their main function is their nucleus, it is going to keep your sieve tube alive. So the reason, now you know why the sieve tube does not have nucleus, so that I don't want anything to be an obstruction, but I don't want this sieve tube to be dead. So what I've done, I have another cell which is known as companion cell. It is going to keep my sieve tube alive. So this was pretty much about your sieve tube and companion cells. And after that, you know this, that phloem parenchyma, it is thin wall and it is going to store food, and phloem fibers, these are elongated cells, these are dead cells. They are going to provide mechanical support. So with this, we have completed the xylem as well as phloem. Now, if you look closely, here is a transverse section of a stem. So imagine this is a stem and I'm going to cut it in this way. So this, and I'm going to look it from above. So if you look closely, at the center we have xylem and next to it we have phloem. And together we are going to call them as vascular bundle. So we have seen this in the beginning only. So xylem and then phloem, together we are going to call them as vascular bundle. Now we know that the xylem is going to conduct the water and the roots are the primary organ which is going to absorb water. Now let's do one activity. It is going to prove that the roots are the only structures which are going to absorb your water. So in this, what are we going to do? We are going to have 4 test tubes. So test tube A, B, C and D, in which I'm going to fill them with water. If you look closely in test tube A, I've filled it with water and after that I've closed its mouth with a rubber cork just to prevent evaporization of water. In the second test tube, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill it with water and I'm going to place one balsam plant. It is a very small size plant and I'm going to make sure the roots of this plant are in contact with the water, as well as I'm going to add some oil just to prevent evaporization of water, so that the water will be inside only. It is not going to get escaped in the form of water vapors. Same with the third one. The only difference is going to be, in this the water is added with a dye such as pink colored caramide. And the fourth one, in this I'll make sure the water level is so low that the roots of this plant are never in contact with the water. So I've placed these 4 test tubes. So after 24 hours, what I'm going to see that in the first test tube, I'm going to see no changes at all, because there is no evaporation. So there is no loss of water because I've closed it with a cork. In the second experiment or in the second test tube, what I'm seeing that the water level have reduced. Now the reason is the water have been absorbed by the roots. So what is going to be my conclusion? So the roots which were dipped inside the water have absorbed the water. After that, the third one, in this, it is going to prove that the water was absorbed by the roots, because the entire plant color gets changed. So it is going to show some red like color. So its root and leaf all have changed its color. So the water have got into the plant through the roots. And after that, the fourth one, it is going to prove that there was no changes at all. The water level, the plant leaves got shriveled up means what? It started to have wrinkles because it didn't get enough water to grow. So the conclusion is I can prove that the water is getting absorbed by the roots only. So the next topic is going to be this one. This is very, very, very important. We all know after photosynthesis, what are we going to get? Glucose. So glucose is what produced inside the plant. Now this glucose is transported from the phloem. The phloem is going to carry this glucose. Now it is transported in the form of sucrose, which is another type of carbohydrate only. Now, once it is transported, I'm going to store it somewhere. So this glucose, which was transported in the form of sucrose, it is stored in the form of starch. So this is very important. They might ask you in MCQ or answer in one sentence. After that, what is translocation? These are terms that you need to remember. Translocation is nothing but movement of solutes upwards or downwards or towards all parts of the body of a plant is known as translocation. That is nothing but the water is moving from the roots to the stem. Food is moving from the leaves to the roots. So this is nothing but translocation. Someone is changing its location. After that, water transportation. Now this is very important. There is a word which is known as osmosis. Water is being absorbed by the roots by the process of osmosis. Now you need to understand what is osmosis. So actually, what we think, if you have so before we understand the absorption of water by the roots, let's understand how water is being absorbed. If you have a cotton and you're going to place it over a water molecule, it is getting absorbed. So actually, what is happening? The water molecules, they have a tendency. So in this, there is two physics: capillarity and surface tension. So what is capillarity? That is the tendency of water molecules to go inside narrow spaces. If they get a very small narrow spaces, they have this tendency to go inside. So that is capillarity. And there is one more thing, that is surface tension. So these are the concepts which helps the water to get absorbed. But in your plants, in the roots, the absorption of the water is not in this way. It is quite different. So that is what we are going to study right now. So before we understand the absorption of water by the roots, first of all, we need to know how does a root looks. So basic structure of root. So the first thing would be, this is going to be the main root, and from this main root, there are going to be some branches which are known as lateral roots. And if you look closely at the end of these lateral roots, we have a specialized structures which are known as root hairs. Now let's zoom into this root hair because these are the most important structure. These are those structures which is going to absorb the water. So this root hair, this is the magnified structure of a root hair. So actually this root hair, it is nothing but protuberance of the epidermal cells. What are these? These are protuberance of epidermal cells. So these are epidermal cells, kind of like the outermost cells for now. And protuberance means what? These are extensions. So as you can see, these are your epidermal cells, and here you can see a extension. So this extension is nothing but protuberance, and this is known as your root hair. Now, what is a root hair? This root hair, it is nothing but a plant cell only, and we know this very well. Every plant cell, it is going to have two structures, that is outermost cell wall, and then beneath we have cell membrane, which is also known as plasma membrane. We know this very well, right? Now, there is something that we need to understand. This cell wall, it is freely permeable. Your cell wall is freely permeable, meaning it means what? It is going to allow everything to go through it. If there is water molecules, H2O, then this cell wall, it is going to permit its entry. But your cell membrane or the plasma membrane, it is preventing larger molecules to go inside. So that is why we can say that it is a semi-permeable membrane. Cell wall, it is going to allow everything to pass, everything to get inside the cell. So it is known as freely permeable. It is allowing everyone to get inside. But your cell membrane, it is selectively permeable. It is not going to allow large molecules to go through. It is going to allow very selectively, very few particles only to get inside the cell. I guess you have understood what I wanted to say. Now, the speciality of root hair. The first one is larger surface area. If you look closely, see, these are your epidermal cells. These are nothing but your lateral roots. And from that, you have your root hair. If you look closely, if I compare this cell with this cell, so this second cell, it does not have a root hair. And this one have a root hair, right? Now the surface area. Now this cell does not have a root here. If it is going to absorb water, it is going to absorb water from only this region only. So it have a very limited surface area for the absorption of water. But if you look at this cell, it have this much area or the region for the absorption of water. So the root here, it is going to increase the area. It is going to give a larger surface area for absorption of water. So more the root is, the more the absorption of water. Second one, right now I won't be explaining this one right now, because for this you need to understand some other concepts. For now, what are you going to understand? That is the inside your root hair or inside the root cell, there is higher concentration of solute. For now, just keep this much in your mind. I'm going to explain this in future. And the third one, your root hair, it is nothing but it is a plant cell. It is going to have cell wall as well as cell membrane, in which the cell wall, it is freely permeable. It is going to allow everything. But your cell membrane, it is selectively permeable. It is going to allow substances like water and some other substances. It is not going to allow larger molecules to pass through it. So these were your specialities of your root hair. Now we are going to understand the types of movements of molecules. First of all, there are solid, there is liquid, there is gaseous. So how these molecules are moved? So the first type is diffusion. So there are few types that we are going to study. The first among this one is diffusion. So what is diffusion? Diffusion is nothing but movement of either gas, liquid or solid substances from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. In nature, everything moves in this way only. Now I have a very good example. Just let me make this diagram. So over here I have two beakers which are connected to each other. For example, if I have solid or liquid or gas, anything over here, both the same substances, in this A beaker, and this is going to be my B beaker. In this A, you can see the level of the substances is more, and in this, the substances level is less. So what is going to happen? How these molecules are going to move? So these molecules are going to move from region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. So this is how everything in nature moves. So this is nothing but diffusion. So what is diffusion? Movement of gas, liquid or solid from the region of higher concentration towards the region of lower concentration. I hope this much is clear. Now, what is osmosis? It is extremely easy to understand. Osmosis is nothing but diffusion only, but a special type of diffusion. Hear me out one more time. What did I just say? Osmosis is nothing but it is a special type of diffusion only. To be more specifically, transportation or movement of water molecule is osmosis. Let's do one thing. I'll make this diagram one more time. I have two beakers which are connected to each other. In between, I'm making something. This is nothing but your semi-permeable membrane. In case of plant, what is going to be? This is nothing but your cell membrane, which is selectively permeable membrane. Okay, this much you have understood. Now, what is osmosis? Osmosis is nothing but movement of particularly water. If I'm talking about water molecule movement, then it is known as osmosis. So, movement of water molecules from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration via a semi-permeable membrane. This is known as osmosis. So, I hope osmosis is clear. Now, there is one more definition, that is this one. To understand this one, you need to understand what is a dilute solution, what is a concentrated solution, what is a solution first of all. So I have given a definition over here. So what is solution? Solution is nothing but it is made up of two things: solute plus solvent. For example, sugar is my solute, water is my solvent. Together they are going to form what? A solution. That is nothing but a sugar solution. I hope this much is clear. Now, what is a diluted solution and what is a concentrated solution? Imagine I have two beakers over here. I have equal amount of water in both the beakers. In this, I have 10 gram of sugar. In this, I have 100 gram of sugar. Now, you tell me in which beaker there is diluted and which beaker is more concentrated. So, it is very obviously this one is concentrated because it is having more solute and less solvent. It have less water but more solvent, more solid particles comparatively to this part. Understood this much? Okay. Now you can understand this definition, which is an alternate definition for osmosis. It says movement of water molecules, it occurs from diluted solution towards the concentrated solution across a semi-permeable membrane. For example, if I want to show it again, I'm going to make it again one more time. Just a minute. So in both the beaker, I have same amount of water, but what I have done in this beaker, that is beaker A, and this is going to be my beaker B, I have more amount of solute, meaning what? It is more concentrated. When I say concentrated, it means what? It have more solute and less solvent. Both the beaker is having same amount of water, but what I have done, I have put some more amount of solute in this, and in this I have like little, like very little amount of solute, sorry. For example, I have 10 gram of sugar over here and I have 100 gram of sugar over here. So this one is more concentrated and this one is less concentrated, or I can say this is diluted one. Now what is diffusion? Always things are going to move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Over here the water is diluted, water concentration is more. Over here the water concentration is less. So what is going to happen? The water molecules are going to go from diluted region towards the concentrated region. So that is what your osmosis second definition. So water molecules are always going to move from high concentration to lower concentration, or I can say it is going to move from diluted region. Over here both the containers are having same water, same level of water, but this region, this part is more diluted comparatively to this region. So water is going to flow from this part to this part. Understood? So this is nothing but osmosis. And obviously there is going to be a semi-permeable membrane. So what is osmosis? Movement of molecules, water molecules to be more specifically, from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration via a semi-permeable membrane. That's it. So in your textbook, they have given one example. So here we have a semi-permeable membrane. So this is your semi-permeable membrane. On the left side, I have water molecules. So this is a diluted region. And over this part, I do have water molecules, but with that, I have sugar molecules too. And sugar molecules are very big. So the semi-permeable membrane, it is not going to allow the sugar molecules to go from this region to this region, from the right side to the left side. So what is happening over here? We are going to understand the osmosis. This region, it have more water. This region, it have less water. So from higher concentration to low concentration, the water is going to move. So that was osmosis first definition. Second definition, this region, that is my left side, it has little or no solutes, and the opposite side, it have more solutes. So this is more concentrated region and this is diluted region, and we know water will flow from diluted region towards the concentrated region. So this is nothing but osmosis as well as semi-permeable membrane. I hope you have understood this much. Now the third type of transportation or movement of molecules is very important. Now this is what which is going to help you to understand everything. That is active transportation. See what happens, we have understood this. I told you that inside your cell the concentration is more. Means what? This region, the cell is having more concentration of solute than the soil. Now I have done something to make this region more concentrated. Now why I have done this? Now listen to me very carefully. If this region is highly concentrated, means what? It have less water. Soil will have more water comparatively to my cell. So what is going to happen? The water is going to flow from the soil towards the cell. So what I've done over here, I've purposefully made my cell more concentrated from than the surrounding, so that the water molecules can go inside. Understood this one? Take it. So what is active transport? This is something very different. It is something against the concentration gradient. Means what? In this, for example, this is my cell. My cell have more quantity of solute, that is for example sugar, than the soil. Soil have less amount of sugar or nitrogen or anything, and my cell is having more amount of nitrogen. Now I know that for the growth, for the development of plant, I need nitrogen. What is my plant is going to do? it is going to use energy. Energy means what? ATP. ATP is nothing but adenosine triphosphate. I'm going to use energy and I'm going to do some sort of work which is going to be against the concentration gradient. We know in soil the nitrogen is less and inside my cell the nitrogen is more. I've made this concentration more inside cell purposefully. How did I made? I've used energy and I've forcefully used what? I've forcefully uh, transported this nitrogen from the soil towards the cell. So this is what is known as active transport. In this, we are going to use energy, and the movement of the molecules will be from the region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration. So this is nothing but against the concentration gradient. So why did I do this? First of all, my cell needs more amount of nitrogen, more amount of potassium and every other nutrients. So that is the first reason. Second thing, if my cell is having more number of solutes, means what? It is highly concentrated and the soil will become diluted. So water will also enter. So I hope you have understood this concept very easily. So what are the things you have to remember? In this, the movement of substances are against the concentration gradient, that is from the region of lower concentration towards the higher concentration. Usually opposite happens. Now, how did I do this? I have used energy, that is ATP. I hope you have understood. Now we can understand this point, that we have used energy to make my cell higher concentration than the surrounding so that I can create an osmotic pressure so that water can get inside. Now, let's take one example, one activity, very easy to understand. I have two bowls. This one, which is having resin and just simple water. No, we have not added anything. And one more bowl, which is having grapes. And in this, the water is added with thick amount of your sugar. So this is nothing but a sugar syrup, and this is nothing but a simple water. It have no solutes. So you know the resin is flat, it is flaccid, we can say. So what is happening over here? After 10 to 12 hours, when I soak them inside these solutions, the resin swells up. The reason is my resin, it have less amount of water comparatively to the surrounding. So according to osmosis, the water is going to flow from higher concentration to the lower concentration. So that was easy to understand. Now the second one, in this, the water is highly concentrated. It is a sugar solution, and my grape, it is less concentrated. It is more diluted, and this is more concentrated. So water from the grapes, it is going to go out. So that is the reason what happens. My grapes are going to shrink, or shrunk. So here we can understand that is the movement of water molecules according to your active transport, or we can say your osmosis. And here also you can see there is semi-permeable membrane. The water molecules are going to cross the cell, its semi-permeable membrane, and then it is going to get out of the cell or get inside the cell. Now the journey of water, very logical. So due to osmotic pressure or osmosis, the soil was having more amount of water, the root were having less amount of water. So according to diffusion or according to osmosis, the water is going to get inside the root. Second reason is going to be, I have purposefully made my root hair more concentrated and the surrounding is diluted. So water is going to go from the diluted region towards the concentrated region. Now this cell, it is full of water. Now what is happening? This cell is initially, it has less amount of water. So this, the cell which is having more water, it is going to push this water to the adjacent cell. So this is how the water is going to flow from one cell to another cell. So cell to cell, you can see what? Osmosis. So inside cell, you are going to see what? Osmosis. And so on. This is going to go continue up till the xylem. Once it is going to reach the xylem, then the xylem is going to carry the water towards the shoot region. Now this is known as ascent of sap. Now what is sap? Sap is nothing but all these nutrients and waters and minerals, all of this together, I can call it as sap. Once it is going to reach the xylem, all of these substances are going to pulled upwards. So this is known as ascent of sap. So this was due to the osmosis pressures of, or it is known as osmotic pressure. So the second thing would be root pressure. Very logical. Now the second thing would be root pressure. Very easy to understand. Root pressure is nothing but the pressure developed in the root due to continuous flow of water. See, there is continuous flow of water. So there is going to be a pressure which is going to be applied on this cell. Then this cell is going to apply the pressure on another cell. So that is nothing but your root pressure. So what is root pressure? It is the pressure which is developed due to continuous inflow of water. So there is a pushing force. So this is one of those reasons which is going to help the water molecules to flow inside, and this is also one of the reasons which is going to help to ascend the sap. But this pressure, it is not that much uh, powerful. Like it is okay for a very small size plant. There are plants which are like 100-meter long or tall plants. So in those plants, this pressure is not enough. The water molecules should reach upside, because in the leaf they are going to be performing photosynthesis, and for photosynthesis I need water molecules. So this root pressure, it is okay for small size plants, but for higher plants which are very tall, in those plants the water molecules reaches the top with the help of a new phenomenon that is known as transpiration. Very easy to understand. So they are going to ask you this question: what is transpiration, or define transpiration? So transpiration is nothing but loss of water in the form of water vapor from the stomata of the leaves of the plant. So you all know we have leaf. So this is leaf. If I'm going to zoom this region, so these are its cells, these are its epidermal cell, and there is one structure which is known as stomata. So this stomata, it is like a opening. Through this opening, when it opens, what is going to happen? The water molecules are going to get evaporated. Now, what is happening over here? I want to pull these water molecules upside. So this transpiration is nothing but a suction force. Now, what is happening over here? When there is sunlight, the water molecule is going to get evaporated, and they are going to get exited from this stomata, from this opening. Now, there is one physics which is known as cohesive force. It is a force which is going to occur between water molecules. If you have ever placed two water molecules very close to each other, you will see they are like kind of attracting to each other, like a magnet. So what happens when one water molecules get evaporated? It is going to pull another water molecule. So over here you can see there is a creation of a suction force. So that is nothing but transpiration. So due to the sunlight, there is going to be evaporation of water. When one water molecule is getting evaporated, it is going to pull another water molecule. So this is going to create a suction force. This force is known as cohesive force, and it is going to help to pull the water molecules from the roots to the top of the plant. So this is nothing but transpiration. I hope you have understood this concept very well. Now, what are the factors which are going to affect the rate of transpiration? Like there are some factors which is going to increase the transpiration, and there are some factors which is going to decrease the transpiration pool. First one is sunlight. See, if there is more sunlight, there is going to be more heat. More heat, that means what? The water is going to get converted into water vapor more easily. Then the transpiration rate will be increased. Second one is temperature. If the temperature is high, if it is very hot, then the water vapors are formed very easily. Then again the rate of transpiration is going to increase. Third one is wind. Moving wind will carry the water vapors. So more the wind, the higher the transpiration rate. And last one is humidity. What is humidity? Humidity is nothing but in your atmosphere there is water vapor. So if there is already water vapor in your atmosphere, do you think you will be able to afford more water vapors from your plant? No. So if there is too much humidity, the transpiration will be reduced. The rate of transpiration is reduced, because in your atmosphere there is water molecules from the beginning only. So that is humidity. So these are the four factors that you need to remember, which are affecting your rate of transpiration. Now, the importance of transpiration in plant. The first importance is cooling effect. It is very logical, very easy to understand. See, we know there is water vapors are formed. To form these water vapors, that is with the help of transpiration, we need heat. Now, this heat is used from the plant itself. The plant body will be very hot. So what are we going to do? We are going to use this heat from the plant to convert this water into water vapor. So when this heat is used from the plant, what is going to happen? The plant is going to see a cooling effect. So what are we going to see over here? A cooling effect. So that is the first importance of transpiration in plant. The second one is it is going to maintain the concentration of sap inside the plant body. So if there is no transpiration, there is no pool of water, all the molecules will stop moving. So there will be no more flowing of nutrients inside the cell. See, why we need water? It is for photosynthesis. Okay. But with this water, what is coming with this water? That is your nutrients, that is your minerals. If there is no transpiration, the nutrients flow will be stopped. There will be no flow of nutrients, then the plant growth will be affected. So it is going to help in maintaining the concentration of sap inside the plant body. After that, what are the uses of water in plant? So, like we all know, it is help in transportation of nutrients. Second one, for the food production, that is photosynthesis to make glucose, and for cooling effect, that is right now we only saw this one. So these are the uses of water. After that, now let's do one experiment. So in total, there are two experiments to understand the transpiration. The first experiment is very easy. So what are you going to do? You're going to take a flower pot with a obviously a plant in it, and you are going to water it very well. After that, you're going to cover it with a polythene bag, uh, like a transparent polythene bag. Now you're going to keep it under sun for few hours. Now what are you going to observe in this? So you're going to see that the inside of this polythene bag, you're going to see water vapors. So what is this indicating? That is the transpiration. Now there is one more experiment to understand that the leaves are the structures through which the water is evaporated during your transpiration. So what are we going to do? We are going to take two plants, and one plant is it is going to have some leaves, and the another plant it is not going to have any leaves. After that, I'm going to cover both the plant with a polythene bag, and I'm going to keep them for few hours, and obviously I'm going to cover it with a rubber. After that few hours, what are we going to see? The plant which is having leaf, so in that plant, the inside layer of the polythene bag, it is going to have some water vapors. And the another plant, it is going to prove that if there is no leaves, there is no transpiration, there is no evaporation of water. So the plastic bag, it is not going to have any kind of water. So this is how we understood that the leaves are the organ, or leaves are the structure through which the water is evaporating. Now the last topic, that is going to be nutrition as well as minerals. See, plant need nutrition for its growth. So there are two types. I have categorized into two groups, nutrients. So there is macronutrients and then is micronutrients. Macro means big, micro means small. So there are some nutrients which are required in higher quantity, and there are some nutrients which are required in lower quantity. So macronutrients are those nutrients which are required for the plants in a huge quantity. And micro means what? These are required but in a very less quantity. So the examples of macronutrients are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And your micronutrients are iron, manganese, and zinc. This is a very important table in which we are going to discuss all the nutrients that is required for the plant, its role, and in case of deficiency, what all things you can see. That is the symptoms. So the first macronutrient is going to be your nitrogen. See, nitrogen is a major important constituent for protein. If you want to make protein, you need nitrogen. So its role is to make protein inside plant. If there is deficiency, what you can see as the symptoms, that is key. You will see yellowing in leaf as well as wrinkling. Wrinkle means once we get older, we are going to have wrinkles on our faces and all. So that is something wrinkle you can see on the leaves. Second one is phosphorus. Phosphorus is very important again for protein as well as cell membrane formation. If there is deficiency, the symptoms would be purple and red color spots on the leaves and delayed seed germination. Phosphorus is very important for growing cells, growing tissues, and they are also important for the opening and closing of stomata. So in case there is deficiency of potassium, what is going to happen? There will be poor growth, because these are very important in growing cells, and if there is deficiency, there will be no growth. So these are your three macronutrients. Then your three micronutrients will be iron. Iron is also an important constituent for protein, to make protein. If there is deficiency, again you're going to see yellowing in leaf. After that, manganese, it is also important for the enzymes. See, what are enzymes? These are nothing but these are substances which are going to help in some chemical reactions. So if there is deficiency of manganese, what is going to happen? Again, there is going to be yellowing and leaves and some gray spots. And last, we have zinc. Zinc, it is an important constituent for plant hormones. So there are many hormones inside plants, as well as for enzyme activities. You need zinc. So if there is deficiency, what are you going to see? Some symptoms. D-shaped leaves means what? The shape of the leaves will be off. There is again yellowing of leaves and stunted plant growth. The growth will be stopped. So if you look closely, in almost everywhere you can see yellowing of leaf. So it is easy to remember. So I hope you have understood so far. So here I've summarized some of the important topics. If you want, you can take a screenshot. So I hope you like this video. Share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel. And I will see you all soon. Chalo, bye bye, tata, good night. And I love you all.